NBC regularly comes to Wrigley Field to televise the game of the week, but of course this is no routine occasion. Now, this is the first time ever that every single person who owns a television set in America will be able to see what old Wrigley Field looks like under artificial lights. Now, under normal circumstances, NBC Sports would use 5 cameras to shoot a baseball game. Tonight, they will use 8, plus another in a blimp overhead. A crew of 50 will try to keep the wires straight and the picture on the air. For sports producer George Finkel, it's an occasion that is certainly worth all the effort.
Well, I think it has to be exciting. All of us have been involved with this stadium through the years. Certainly a tremendously historic stadium. A lot of nostalgia. A lot of history, and to be part of night baseball here with all the furor and all that's gone on, I think it'll be a tremendous experience.
Certainly will for everyone involved. George Finkel is the guy behind the scenes, and one of the guys in front of the camera is that veteran, distinguished-looking redhead with the dulcet tones.
That's right. We call him simply the other Hall of Famer, in addition to Jack Brickhouse.
Right.
Vin Scully is in his 39th year of broadcasting Major League Baseball. He'll call the shots tonight for NBC.
Wrigley Field is a fixture in the National League, the oldest ballpark in the league, and one of the broadcasters who's been around the longest is Vin Scully. Vin, when you come to Wrigley Field, you broadcast for NBC and, of course, previously in your career exclusively for the Dodgers. What do you think of when you enter Wrigley Field?
Well, I think in a sense that I'm in a time capsule and that it's somewhat of a throwback. In the old days, you would go to Connie Mack Stadium, or Shibe Park as it was called before that. You would go to Crosley Field, you would go to Ebbets Field, and you would go to Wrigley Field. All of those other ballparks are gone except for Wrigley Field. So when I come here, it really is a home of memories, I believe.
It wasn't that long ago, Vin, that the newer ballparks, the saucer-like stadiums, Riverfront, Veterans, Three Rivers, were very well thought of, but now it appears the older ballparks are making a sentimental comeback.
Oh, indeed. The multi-purpose stadium serves a great purpose. It's a multi-purpose stadium. But they're basically cold and antiseptic. They have the charisma of a hospital hall room, I guess. And Wrigley Field, it is by itself, whether it's the brick wall or the ivy, the intimacy of the stands to the actual playing field, which lends, I believe, to the wonderful spirit of the crowd. It is just totally different from any other ballpark in the league, and so it's great to still have it.
Well, this is the first night game to be telecast from Wrigley Field, to be available to all of the homes in the United States. Do you get a sense of history going into this one?
It's like seeing an old friend in a completely different situation. How will she look? And I guess I have for whatever reason, I have a feeling of referring to Wrigley Field almost as a woman, with respect and admiration and with love as well, because I've spent a good part of my life dancing with her. And I'll be looking forward to seeing just what she looks like at night. I mean, will I see all her wrinkles? Will I not see her wrinkles? Maybe she'll be more beautiful than I had ever imagined her. I don't know, but that's going to be all part of that wonderful evening.
From a Hall of Fame broadcaster to a Hall of Fame first baseman, Billy Williams, sweet swinging Billy Williams. Is this such a break from tradition that things will never be the same here? How do you feel about this?
No, it's a break from tradition, Tom. The only thing wrong is we just got lights in the ballpark. I think it's going to be a predominantly day baseball here in Wrigley Field. And, of course, I was glad when they said put the lights up instead of moving Wrigley Field. So I think I'm along with many more people that we enjoy playing baseball right here in Wrigley Field.
Well, you know, Billy, a lot of your teammates have been adamant about that. They kind of jump on the bandwagon. I don't know if it's to endear themselves to the fans of today or what, but they say, you know, we're so opposed to it because this ballpark has completely lost its innocence now.
Not really, because I can speak for a player who played here for so many years. And I think it had to come. I think when they talked about moving the postseason play to St. Louis, I think that would hurt more than just putting the lights in Wrigley Field and just breaking a tradition.
And as I said,
it's still going to be predominantly day baseball. We're going to play some night games here, only 18 per year. And, of course, I like for it to finish, you know, those 305 games, and we'll have the lights to do that.
All righty, thank you very much. Billy Williams and Tom and I will be back with some final thoughts in just a moment. Stay with us.
Wrigley Nights, Wrigley Lights was sponsored in part by your Chicagoland Toyota dealer and Old Style. Let me raise.
Back live at Wrigley Field, about 5 minutes away from the opening pitch of what is going to go down in the books as the official night game. Tom, just a final thought. There's so many people out there on Waveland and Sheffield and the surrounding streets that simply will not accept this, even though it is reality.
Yeah, there are those people who feel it's a break from tradition. The neighborhood people have concerns that are a little different. Theirs are for safety and traffic, and that's a very real situation they'll have to deal with for every night game. But as far as tradition goes, Wrigley Field will still be here. The players we've talked to are happy will still be here. They played baseball here, as I mentioned, for 74 years. All they've done is spend $5 million to put in about 33 miles of electrical cable. They'll have an all-star game here, perhaps postseason in a World Series. The long-term survival, this place will stay here.
And that's the important thing, the future of this team in this ballpark. So coming up, the Mets and the Cubs in the first official night game, live exclusively on Channel 5 and NBC. Mark Giangrego and Tom Shaer, thanks for joining us. Good night.
Enjoy the game.
Chicago's Wrigley Field was built in 1914 and has formed the stage for some great moments in baseball. A major part of baseball legend Babe Ruth pointing and predicting he'd hit one out, and he did it in the World Series against the Cubs in 1932. Ernie Banks, probably the most popular Cub in recent years, belted his 500th home run right here at Wrigley. Also right here, Pete Rose with a base hit to catch Ty Cobb for the most hits in Major League history, a record that Rose went on to eclipse. And through it all, only day games were played at Wrigley Field. But reacting to pressure in recent years, lights have finally come to Wrigley. And tonight, because of an accident of nature, you have a chance to see a bit of baseball history, the first official night game here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert. Welcome to the start of our primetime baseball coverage here on NBC. And in the summer of '88, in the year of the great drought, rain wiped out last night's first ever scheduled night game here at Wrigley. Now, last night was entertaining, but it wasn't exactly historical, perhaps more of a footnote to history. And it was a carnival-like atmosphere at Wrigley. A 91-year-old Cubs fan, Harry Grossman, was chosen to push the plunger to light the field. Do you remember, what was the very first game you ever saw here at Wrigley Field?
1914, when they moved over from the west side. They moved over, I think, in 1914, I think so. The bleachers were all the way down to the ground, and they cut it off, and they built the wall with the ivy on here. They also added on the upper deck. There was no upper deck.
And then it was time for the switching on of the lights at Wrigley. The lights went on. The Earth remained in orbit, but for some, life will never be the same.
I'd say it's a beautiful day for a night game. Let's play three.
I think it's great. We need it. Why not? Everybody else says that we're the last to get it. It's about time.
However, some people who live near the ballpark claim that night games will bring noise and rowdiness and ruin the neighborhood.
They don't need night baseball. They could have kept a tradition. The saddest day in the city of Chicago and in the United States is today. 8/8/88, according to the Chinese, is the luckiest day in the world, but not here.
Bad luck came in the form of rain, with the Cubs leading the Phillies 3-1 in the fourth. So some of the players provided their own brand of entertainment, but the umpires finally called it, officially wiping it all away and giving you a chance tonight to see the first official night game here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. We should mention there is rain in the forecast once again for some time this evening. Perhaps the baseball gods trying to tell us something. That's it for the pregame. Now let's go to Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wrigley Field and the big block party in town. And as far as the baseball gods are concerned, we actually have some blue skies. We have sunlight splashed on the rooftops along the lakefront, and so far, so good.
And with all the talk about the lights, they're not doing much good right now, Vin. It's still pretty light.
It's about as light as it would be anyway, so the lights will not take effect for at least another inning or so. But I guess the biggest problem here would be for the players to concentrate on the game and never mind the height.
Well, that's all it's been. It's been a big hype, and it's been a big event. In fact, one sportscaster I heard said, well, nobody really cares who wins the game. It's really to see the lights go on. And I thought, I wonder how Zimmer feels about that, and Davy Johnson.
For Davy Johnson and the Mets, they've already taken advantage of the lights. They played late in Pittsburgh, got here about 1:30 in the morning, got to bed about 3 a.m., but instead of dragging out and coming to the ballpark, they had the luxury of sleeping in and getting ready for the first night game in Wrigley Field history.
Might just add that little dive and that slide that we saw the Cub players have did not set too well with manager Don Zimmer. He had a clubhouse meeting, and I don't think you'll see that again.
Well, never mind the hype, never mind the preamble. It's time for the ball game. So pull up a chair and spend a little time with us.